Yeah, got it. Let me see if Prabhu. Huh? Yeah, make. Okay, maybe let me make this as a Radhika. So they would know who is joining whom.
Yeah, both are co-hosts now.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you. No, that's okay. That's okay. I think we have God's permission. You don't need it. Okay, Radhika, I want to check something first. Okay, I think we are good. Thank you, Radhika. Hare Krishna, everyone. And thank you again for joining on the Black Friday. So today we are going to read verse number 10 from chapter 8 of Bhagavad Gita. And I'm going to share the screen first. Okay, let me make letters big so we all can see. Okay, so I will I'll recite the one line and then you all can follow me. Prayana kale manasa chalena.
Prayana kale manasa chalena.
Bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva.
Bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva.
Bruvor madhe pranam avesha samyak.
Bruvor madhye pranam avesha samyak.
Satam param purusham upaiti divyam.
Satam param purusham upaiti divyam.
Prayana kale manasa chalena.
Prayana kale manasa chalena.
Bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva.
Bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva.
Bruvor madhe pranam avesha samyak.
Bruvor madhye pranam avesha samyak.
Satam param purusham upaiti divyam.
Satam purusham upaiti divyam.
Prayana kale manasa chalena.
Prayana kale manasa chalena.
Bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva.
Bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva.
Bruvor madhe pranam avesha samyak.
Bruvor madhye pranam avesha samyak.
Satam param purusham upaiti divyam.
Satam param purusham upaiti divyam.
Anyone would like to go? Please proceed.
Prayana kale manasa chalena.
Prayana kale manasa chalena.
Bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva.
Bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva.
Bruvor madhye pranam avesha samyak.
भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणम् अवेश्य सम्यक्
Anta param purusham upaittide.
सतं परं पुरुषम् उपैति दिव्यम् प्रयाणकाले मनसाचलेन
Prayanakale
Sachaten
भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव
bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva.
भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणम् आवेश्य सम्यक्
Bhuvod pranamavishya samyak.
सतं परं पुरुषम् उपैति दिव्यम्
Satam param purusham upaittide.
Okay, so we'll see the synonyms. Prayana kale,
प्रयाणकाले
at the time of death.
at the time of death
Manasa,
manasa
by the mind.
by the mind
Achalena,
achalena
without its being deviated.
without its being deviated
Bhaktya,
bhaktya
in full devotion.
in full devotion
Yuktaha, engaged.
yuktaha engaged
Yoga balena,
yoga balena
by the power of mystic yoga.
by the power of mystic yoga
Cha, also.
Cha also
Eva, certainly.
eva certainly
Bhruvo, the two eyebrows.
Bhruvo the two eyebrows
Madhe, between.
madhye between
Pranam, the life air.
pranam the life air
Aveshya, establishing.
aveshya establishing
Samyak, completely.
samyak completely
Saha, he.
sa he
Tam, that.
tam that
Param, transcendental.
param transcendental
Purusham, personality of Godhead.
purusham personality of Godhead
Upayati, achieves.
upaiti achieves
Divyam, in the spiritual kingdom.
divyam in the spiritual kingdom.
I will now read the translation and purport. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. One who at the time of death fixes his life air between the eyebrows and by the strength of yoga with an undeviating mind engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. In this verse, it is clearly stated that at the time of death, the mind must be fixed in devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For those practiced in yoga, it is recommended that they raise the life force between the eyebrows to the Agya Chakra. The practice of Sat Chakra Yoga involving meditation on the 6 chakras is suggested here. A pure devotee does not practice such yoga, and because he is always engaged in Krishna consciousness, at death he can remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead. by his grace. This is explained in verse 14. The particular use of the word yoga balena is significant in this verse because without practice of yoga, whether Sat Chakra yoga or Bhakti yoga, one cannot come to this transcendental state of being at the time of death. One cannot suddenly remember the Supreme Lord at death. One must have practiced some yoga system, especially the system of Bhakti yoga. Since one's mind at death is very disturbed, one should practice transcendence through yoga during one's life. Okay, Hare Krishna. So before we proceed, I'll recite the Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshakarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaur Bhaktarunda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna everyone, and thanks for joining today on this day, which is Thanksgiving Day. Of course, Thanksgiving Day especially celebrated in US, where people express gratitude to their beloved ones, family members, and we'll also talk about how grateful we should be in our devotee life as well. So now in this particular verse, I think this chapter 8 itself, I think last time when we were looking at different questions that Arjuna is asking to Krishna, and Bhagwan Krishna is answering all these questions one after another, and especially the question asked by Arjun, where Arjuna is asking, let me get that question in front of us so we all can see. Give me a minute. So the text 1 and text 2 in this chapter 8, where Arjun asked, I think, 5 or 6 questions. And specifically the question, I think this is the last question, where we see, how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? So this particular question referring to a specific, I would say, timing in human life, which is the time of death. And this is very interesting and very important question. And at the time of death, how can those engaged in devotional service know you? And Bhagavan Shri Krishna answered this question in 2 verses. First, in text 5 and text 6. Bhagavan Krishna clarify that at the end of his life, one who quit his body remembering me alone attains my nature. I think this is I remember I got this opportunity to share this particular verse last time. And then after that, Bhagwan Shri Krishna in the next verse immediately talk about if someone is not remembering me alone, then whatever state one remember, accordingly he will get the next destination. Maybe he may get another human body, or he may get some other body, maybe an animal body or whatever. Now after that, Bhagwan Shri Krishna continue explaining like how one should do. So where text 7, where Bhagwan Krishna says, one, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty. So Bhagwan Krishna is it is very clear in the message that perform your prescribed duty. Don't stop or do not avoid those. However, always keep thinking of me. And as the conversation progress, the previous verse, that is text 9, where Bhagwan Krishna is in this particular verse talks about various qualities. Those qualities will help one to remember Krishna. So the qualities are like he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, and so on. So we are probably not going to the details of this text 9, but the intent of the text 9, where Bhagwan Krishna talks about various qualities. And after that, text 10, today's verse, and based on my reading, text 10, 11, 12, and 13, it refers to Yoga Mishrit Bhakti. Now this term, Yoga Mishrit Bhakti, what it is? We know Bhakti, we know devotional service, where we, when one sadhaka is practicing, right? So in this mission of Srila Prabhupada mission, where Srila Prabhupada has given us 4 regulative principles, that is don'ts, that we should not do those things, right? And do's, that is chant name of Lord. Of course, minimum 16, and unlimited, as much as we can. So now that is a devotional service. That is for in this particular, and this is very this is recommended in this age of Kali. It's called age of Kali, right? Now, what is Yoga Mishrit Bhakti now? So this new, it's not a new term, but this particular verses are going to revolve around Yoga Mishrit. Now, Mishrit means combined, and Yoga. So Yoga Mishrit, there is some form of yoga, and then it combined with the devotion. So let's see what these specific verses are. So based on my reading of other devotees, that is Chaitanya Charan Prabhuji. So this particular verse 10, where it refers to those sadhakas who practice 8-fold limbs of yoga, that is also known as Ashtanga Yoga, right? So there are some sadhakas who practice those Ashtanga Yoga, that is 8 limbs of yoga system. That is not purely a devotional service or devotional, the way Prabhupada has explained, that serving devotees, serving the Lord. But 8-fold yoga system is where there are 8 limbs, and those are, if I don't remember all, but Yama, Niyama, all the way it starts, and the final one is Samadhi. Samadhi is where a yogi, he controls his senses by practice, and he was able to live his life force or consciousness, right, at a particular time. So those are some practices, and again, those, it doesn't mean those practices are I would say wrong, but those practices are not feasible enough in the age of Kali. Those practices are more suitable in the age of Satya Yuga, but in the age of Kali, those practices are not practical and feasible too. Why not practical? Because as we know, in the age of Kali, there are limitations on the what someone in the human body can do. For example, as we see in our conditioned life, sometimes we can't even sit at one place, maybe for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. What to speak of sitting at one place for months and years. Another aspect of the limitation of the human body is the memory limitation. How much we can remember. We don't have that. Generally speaking, our power of memorization has reduced a lot as compared to one in the Satya Yuga. And of course, there are many other limitations on the bodily parts and their functioning. So that's why in the age of Kali, the preferred practice is the taking the name of Lord or chanting the name of Lord. That is Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva, 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 Gatir Anyatha. So now, with this as the context, now we'll see the purport what Srila Prabhupada is explaining. Because this is the context we need to understand. That is, this is the first verse where it talks about the Yoga Mishrit Bhakti. In the translation, where Bhagwan Krishna starts talking about one who fix his life air between the eyebrows by the strength of yoga. So this particular practice, even Srila Prabhupada has explained, that is what that means. That is fixing life air. Life air is nothing, there is another term in Sanskrit called prana. So that presence of the prana or life air keep the body alive. Once the life air is, I think it is gone out, then body is a dead body. Now, in this particular, we'll see what that means, that fixing the life air between the eyebrows. So what Srila Prabhupada is writing in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is referring to a word called Agya Chakra. And Srila Prabhupada also referring to practice of Shat Chakra Yoga. Now, before I go up talk about Agya Chakra, let's talk about first Shat Chakra Yoga, the practice of Shat Chakra. Srila Prabhupada says the practice of Shat Chakra Yoga involve meditation on the 6 chakras. So there are some Sanskrit words. Shat means 6, and Chakra. So Chakra in English it is energies, revolving energies. So in a human body, as per the yoga system, there are total 7 chakras at different locations, and those chakras, meaning there is the place where the energy is conserved, different forms of energy, and when all those 7 chakras, the energy at those chakras is in the balanced condition, we live a normal life. But when there is the imbalance, then we face we face issues such as very health related issues, so on and so forth. Again, I'm not at all expert in this chakra system, that is energy system. That's a different, I would say, stream where the yogis, they practice this for years and years. Now, so that those are the chakras, that is energy spots, and that these are different parts within the human body. Now, other terms Srila Prabhupada refers is Agya Chakra. So one of the chakra, name of that energy is Agya. And that chakra, as per physical location, it is between the eyebrows. So now these mystic yogis or these individuals who practice these yogas, at the time of living from this body, of course, they sit at one place. When they do practice, they sit at one place. They try to control their senses by the practice of this yoga. And at the time of living, that life force has to travel through those 7 different chakras. So I'm just trying to explain very high level. This is not a complete, like a detailed explanation of, but how it is relevant for the first line in the translation, fixing the life air between the eyebrows. So that's where this Agya Chakra, that is the name of it, that particular practice. And as that yogi is practicing, bring that life air fixed between the two eyebrows, and with this yoga practice, he closes various openings within the human body. So as we know in the explained in Srimad Bhagavatam, the story of the King Puranjan, which is an allegorical story where the human body is explained as or mentioned as a city of 9 gates, meaning that in the human body there are 9 openings, like eyes, nostrils, mouth, ear, genitals, so on and so forth. Now these mystic yogis at the time of living the body, they bring the pran, that is living force, between the 2 eyebrows, and they close all the openings because their intent is the life force should escape or go out of the human body from the top. There's a term called in Sanskrit called Brahmarandra. The Randra means the opening. So they try to, their objective is that the prana leaves from the top. Okay, so again, this is not a complete explanation of that whole this chakra system, but this is their objective. Like this yogis, they practice this yogas for many years. That it is not something that one just sit at one place and you get a control on, or first thing that individual has to control the senses, and then slowly they get control on this prana, living force. Right. Now Srila Prabhupada, I think now going back to the main point he wants to say, a devotee does not practice such yoga. And as I said earlier also, right? So in this age of Kali, this kind of practices may not be even feasible considering the human body and the limitation of the human body we have in the age of Kali. Srila Prabhupada clearly says a pure devotee does not practice such yoga. But because he is always engaged in Krishna consciousness, at death he can remember the Supreme Personality. So a mystic yogi and a devotee, the final goal at the time of death, remembrance of Krishna. Now, for the pure devotee, he does not follow this rigorous yoga practice. However, as he's always engaged in Krishna consciousness. What that means? So in our mission, that is in Srila Prabhupada mission, that is International Society of Krishna Consciousness, Srila Prabhupada has given us instruction in the form of regulative principles. If we follow those principles on a daily basis, wherever we are, whether we are in brahmachari, whether we are in the gruhastha, we have to just follow those 4 regulative principles and perform chanting. Take the name of Hari, that is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. When one performs these regulative principles and chanting on a daily basis, that's what always engage. And that is what the duty, occupational duty of a devotee. And when one person is constantly engaged, that's why Srila Prabhupada used the word always. So then at the death, he can remember. And again, Srila Prabhupada said, he can remember. If you see at how he's ending this line, nothing really within the control of sadhaka. Even to get that remembrance, we need a grace. So Srila Prabhupada clearly said, only by his grace. So it is again a reciprocation. When Bhagavan see a sincere effort, then definitely for devotee, by his grace, devotee will remember the Krishna. So in one of the lecture, I was hearing one example. It was actually, now she is no longer. So there was a Mataji, I think in India. So before she passed away, for some period of time, she forgot everything except the Mahamantra. Again, I am not articulating the whole story, but this is what I was hearing, that an individual, and this has happened in the mission of Srila Prabhupada. She forgot everything, even her relationship with her beloved family members, and she only remembered the Mahamantra, that is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Now we could say this is the grace. This is the grace of Srila Prabhupada and of course Bhagavan Shri Krishna. So that's why we need to, in the mission of Srila Prabhupada, we should strive hard to please Srila Prabhupada. And how do we please? By following his instructions. So there was another another incident that I heard in the lecture. I think it is about Prabodhananda Maharaj. I think this was in, I don't remember the location, whether it was in Vrindavan. But Prabodhananda Maharaj, he was about to get, I think, sannyas the next day. However, what he was feeling inside, even after practicing 24 to 25 years in the mission of Srila Prabhupada, he was not getting that test. That's why he was like, in the mind there was anxiety. And then next day it was a sannyas. That was kind of anxiety or the question he had in the mind, that even after 25 years of practicing, right? So you do practice, meaning you do chanting, you do seva, you serve devotees, you serve temple. Even after doing that, you don't get the test. And at that time, I mean, when on that night when Prabodhananda Maharaj was sleeping, Srila Prabhupada came to his dream And in the dream, Prabodhananda Maharaj could see Srila Prabhupada was coming out of Samadhi. And Srila Prabhupada came out and he mentioned to him, do not worry about that. You just preach and you will get everything automatically. And after this particular instruction, next day he took sannyas and he is still doing the preaching extensive. So here, I think the message is like Srila Prabhupada. So we need to try and serve Srila Prabhupada. So situation like this at the time of death, right? By Srila Prabhupada's mercy, I think I'm sure that we will have the remembrance of Krishna. And then Srila Prabhupada mentioned the particular use of the word yoga balena. It's significant in this verse because without practice of yoga, whether Shat Chakra yoga or Bhakti yoga, one cannot come to this transcendental state. So here Srila Prabhupada is referring to word yoga balena. And yoga balena, if we see in the by the power of mystic yoga, that's what Srila Prabhupada says. But I think here Srila Prabhupada is stressing the point of abhyas, practice. So Srila Prabhupada is also not kind of saying don't follow Shat Chakra yoga, but he's saying regardless of what you follow, one cannot just come there to this state automatically. I think that is a message. One cannot suddenly remember Supreme Lord at death. One must have practiced some yoga system. And then finally, then Srila Prabhupada said, especially the system of Bhakti Yoga. So what is the system of Bhakti Yoga? I think as I mentioned just now, right? It's for us, it's 4 regulative principles: serving devotees, serving temple, and serving anything that's related to the Krishna. That is the system of Bhakti Yoga in simple words for us. And then Srila Prabhupada finally says, since one's mind at death is very disturbed, one should practice transcendence through yoga during one's life. Now, what this means is, it is obvious that even though we are talking about the moments of death so easily, without any anxiety, without any pressure, because so far we haven't reached to that state. So it is easy, right? But it is very disturbing. Especially even we may not have reached, but sometimes we may see someone else in our family. That also disturbs us. But when it comes to us, self, then that brings tremendous disturbance. Attachments, fear, all emotions will kind of get into our mind. Now, how would we keep ourselves stable? And that's where this practice of transcendence for us, the 4 regulative principles and the chanting and devotee association will keep us stable. So that's why I think it is a medicine. We don't know, because at least for Maharaj Parikshit, the day for death was fixed. So for us, that is an uncertainty. So we think there is a tomorrow, and that's why we live today. So I think what devotee does, right? So they, regardless of when the death comes, they always keep focusing on the service. And this particular service eventually help us, it will prepare us eventually. What that preparation means, even I think I could remember the example of Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj. He was diagnosed with terminal cancer. But however, the way he had shown like how the devotee should, I mean, should face it, that really a kind of a lesson, and it's an inspiration for everyone, not just devotee in ISKCON, but everyone. Even though he was in the deep pain, he was still doing chanting. I remember this in one situation where Radhanath Maharaj, his name is Radhanath Maharaj, was with him at those last, when he was going through a lot of pain. He could not even speak. He was getting so much pain, but Radhanath Maharaj, at some moment, he said, you don't have to do chanting. I mean, the whole 16 rounds. That's okay. You are already. But still, he said, no, I will do the chanting. That's my vow to Srila Prabhupada. And I think that indicates how, so that is not a disturbed state. If we see, if we go, even though there is a very painful situation, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj shown that by the, that's why this our Maharaj in Srila Prabhupada mission, they are really acharyas. I mean, they have shown by example. So that's why Srila Prabhupada, this line is very important. Srila Prabhupada knows at the time of death, the situation is very disturbing. I know, of course, for our family members, but even for the person himself, mind is blocked with all those fearful and lots of thoughts, everything. How to remain stable and keep focus on the real destination, that is Krishna or Srila Prabhupada. And of course, if one does that sincerely, so there are two things which will drive. One is sincere effort, and second is mercy, or we say grace of Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. These two things will help us to face this situation in the right way. With that said, I think this is what I would like to share in this particular, for this verse. Again, this is a continuation where we'll see this Yoga Mishrit Bhakti, how those yogis practice. And in the next verse, Bhagwan Krishna continues. Even Bhagwan Krishna go and further explain who does this just Yoga Mishrit Bhakti, their destination is who are just the mystic yogi, their destination is not even Krishna's abode. They go to spiritual planet, that is Vaikuntha, but not the Krishna's abode, that is Krishna Loka. But that's coming in the next 2-3 verses. I'll stop here. And again, thank you so much. I think today is a Thanksgiving day, and I think, yeah, this is a, again, it's not like we have to be grateful to Krishna and Srila Prabhupada just on this day. I think we should be grateful every moment of our life. Why we are here? We have a human body which is working, the brain is working, we can accept instruction and we can perform duties. So this thankful, thank you. Of course, we should be grateful today, of course, with this particular Thanksgiving day. And of course, to all devotees who are with us, around us, who keep us motivating every day, every moment. With that said, I would like to stop here. Thank you so much for being inspiration to me also with your devotion, and keep doing that. Hare Krishna. If you have, if you have any questions or comment, please share.
I want to thank all of you speakers who take the time to prepare these classes, and even on a Black Friday giving the lecture. So thank you for all that you do. All the Prabhujis and Matajis who give these classes. And very nice class, Madhava Kanta Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji.
What, Krishna, what's Mataji Tamala just said?
Sorry, Kwaka Prabhu, what were you trying to say?
It's just a joke. Like, I'm saying exactly that what you just said. So it's more like I'm repeating what she said, like what you said. But I have some questions. Controversial Kweku. So honestly, my question is not to you, Prabhuji, but it's to everybody, whoever has the answer, right? But before I go to my question, I think I just have a little bit of commentary. I've been doing some research, right, already, and I found out that mantras and stuff, you know, they've always existed, and the reason why mantras are, you know, used normally is for, you know, to be able to sustain concentration. So from my, you know, from my investigation further, I came to the realization that a sustained concentration with words, let's just take example for Hare Krishna mantra. So a sustained concentration with that can and I've not been told this, you know, but my realization was that it can lead to a visual concentration, which is sustained as well. And if you are adding a like a words concentration on words that you're reciting yourself, in addition to, let's say in this case, a visualization of the form of Krishna, then with a sustained manner, that could lead to more realizations. You know, I'm thinking that is where the whole thing goes, moves further from just chanting the words to being able to visualize in a sustained for a longer period the personal form itself in the mind, and then leading that to realizations or manifestation. So I just a commentary for anybody to think about and comment on as well. Chakra activations, I know for a fact that in today's world, people do experience them, but it's rare, you know. I've been told a lot of times it has to do with your previous life, how many austerities that you've performed and all that can lead to whether you get that breakthrough, those breakthroughs in, you know, in this incarnation. And then the question that I had for everybody, anyone who knows, is what is the position, like, what do you think about the Ashtavakra Gita? Because I've been exposed to it and I thought it was mind-blowing. That's it.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you. So I'll just comment on your first point. Based on what it is, basically sharing what I have learned. No question to your comment, that is, when we do chanting and then the form of Krishna. So my comment is basically the experiences of other devotees, what they shared, and the way they said initially or even I myself consider even beginner. So when we do a chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, how to first bring the concentration, right? So it is tough. However, there are some devotee try many ways. Those are the sharing I'm gonna do. So what I have seen, some devotee, how they do it, when they sit and do a chanting, they keep a picture, or some devotee even sit in front of the form, the deity.
So more like visualize, right? Picture, yeah. Visualize. Okay.
Because usually if eyes, when you do chanting, and if your eyes are looking at some other picture, some other, say, roof, or some other table and chair, computer, all that, anything, then sometimes eyes, those perceives those pictures and may create a distraction. Now,
Correct.
that's devotees have shared. Some devotees do that. Like sometimes they print a Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the printout, and they stick it on the wall. And as one chant, their eyes are only focused on that printout. So they all are reading the Hare as they are saying. Some devotees keep picture on their computer, say Chaitanya Mahaprabhu picture. Some just sit in front of Tulsi. So these are some of the, every devotee try their own, and it works for them.
Because I've spoken to people who concentrate better with their eyes open, and some people concentrate better with their eyes closed.
Yeah.
So somebody who has their eyes open concentration will want that mantra written on the wall, or maybe a photo of Krishna or something that can keep them there. And someone who can do better with their eyes closed may want to visualize it, either the words or the form mentally.
Yeah, I mean, if that is possible, then
because I can close my eyes right now and picture Krishna in a moment. I mean, the personal form of him. I don't have a problem doing that at all.
Excellent. If you can do that.
And I can do it for a long period too.
Very, very nice. Yeah, and in addition to that, what also I learned is at the time of chanting, hearing is the most important. So we try to chant loud enough so that our ears can hear it as well. Sometimes we chant very slow, or maybe then what it could be like we can't even hear. Then that's why they say chant it loud enough so that you hear every word in that Mahamantra. So that's something I like a lot, that sharing that. I heard this in many times. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. And I think your question, you said Ashtavakra Gita. Is it the word you said?
Yes. Ashtavakra Gita. You know about it, right?
No, this is a new word for me. So
okay, that's why I put the question to everybody. Maybe somebody's heard it before. It's between the sage Ashtavakra and the the devotee Janaka.
Okay.
Janaka was supposed to be a king.
Okay. Yeah. And devotee Janaka is in Prabhupada's movement.
Okay. Is there anyone who can shed some light? I see a lot of learned people here. Mataji Gitamala.
I'm sorry, I was a little distracted.
I didn't mean to rope you in like that. I was wondering if you've been exposed to the Ashtavakra Gita.
No. Ganpati Govind, is he there?
Yeah, Ganpati Govind Prabhuji. Do you know?
That wasn't me, Ganpati Prabhuji. That was not me that brought you into here.
In case Ganpati Govind Prabhuji is not around the microphone, but what I can do, Prabhuji, I can definitely take down. I will do something, and then maybe next time I can share whatever I learned.
Next Friday, no problem.
Yes. Okay. And Prabhuji, first of all, thank you so much. Did I miss any of your points? I remember first point.
I think the only thing that you didn't touch on was the chakra activations comment that I made.
Oh, the chakra, the comment. Right. No, I think I have no question on that. I think I'm aligned with what you said about the chakra.
Yeah, I was saying that, it's real in today's world, but it's not too many people that experience it or get the breakthrough.
True. And I myself also don't even know who even does that. So that's again.
It's real. I know personal experiences. So that's why, I'm.
Okay. Great. Okay. So I think anybody has any other comment, questions? Okay. If not, then we can stop here. We'll pray our obeisances to our assembled devotees. Vancha kalpataru.
Kalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyascha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha Anantakoti Vaishnavandaki Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Bhagavad Gita ki Jai Madhava Kanta Prabhu ki Jai
Jai.
Hare
Hare
Krishna everyone.
Hare Krishna, everyone. See you Monday.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you.